Hey guys, just a reminder, if you want to hear all of these wonderful B Plus podcast episodes completely ad-free, make sure you head over to Patreon or Podbean, where we are the featured podcast this week. You can subscribe for as little as $1 a month up to $10 a month, where anything you want to help us with, it really helps out. It's going to help us grow the site. It's going to help us redesign some things, and everything that we get through this and through the advertising as well is all going straight back into the podcast so that we can get Aussie Graps out there for the rest of the world to hear about, for the rest of the world to see, so we can grow this mission of watch global, support local, and build indie wrestling. So if you want to be a part of that and get some really cool rewards like call-in shows, bonus episodes, ad-free like I mentioned, then head over to patreon.com/theb+ and subscribe today.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening.
Hold one. Andre.
You're not good at this. Get out. Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon.
You just made the list.
Oh my God.
Sorry, no speak English.
Dummy. Goodbye and good night. Hold two. On bar.
It's still real to me, damn it.
Dummy. Yeah.
This is the worst town I've ever been in.
Hold three. The moss covers. Three-handle family Gradunzo.
Mamma mia.
And now, Unchained.media presents the B Plus Podcast with your host, Greg Unchained.
It's me, Austin. It was me all along, Austin. Number 4, armbar. I will never retire. I still got 200 more. I got 200 more holes to list.
All right, fellow B Plus players, welcome to the B Plus Podcast. I'm your host, Greg Unchained. Today is Thursday. It's the third time you've heard me say this. It's bonus episode day. We're doing previews and all that sort of fun stuff for a big weekend of Aussie Graps coming up. At this time, I'm going to talk about EPW Hot Summers Night. Joining me to do so, the man himself, Eric Mack. How are you, man?
Oh, I feel as though there's some copyright infringement there. I'm not sure about the man, but I'm feeling good, Greg. It's a good time to be in Australian wrestling, and it's a great time this weekend. A lot of great shows going on around the country. So, no, excited to talk about Hot Summers Night with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I figure we'll just dig straight in and jump straight into the card. So I'm basing this off the Facebook page and all the matches that have been announced on there. First on the ticket, Tyler Jacobs versus the Australian sensation Craven, who's relatively new to EPW.
Yeah, he's relatively new to EPW, but has a huge following, not only in Western Australia, but a lot of bookings around the country and also overseas as well.
Yeah, around the world.
100%. I've seen him, popping up in North America, Mexico, all of that sort of thing. So he's definitely well-traveled, and although he only debuted for EPW in 2018, brings along a wealth of experience. So really, Craven's just, I guess, looking to find his footing in EPW. So, as I said, he's, fought in a couple of the Western Australian companies, but, really, bias here, but EPW being WA's premium wrestling company, it's good to see, I guess, for Craven where he sits, and there's no bigger benchmark than the experienced Tyler Jacobs as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tyler Jacobs, obviously, his whole situation with the children, are they going to play into this match? There's a lot of variables here.
Yeah, Tyler Jacobs, by himself, he's one of the most decorated champions in EPW history, even before he found the light and had the children following him. The children obviously helped him as well get through parts of the invitational tournament. So for Craven, that's one of the things he's going to have to look out for is, as great as he is in the ring, he's going to have to keep an eye on those children who seem to get involved as best they can.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I'm personally a big fan of both of these guys. Tyler Jacobs he's a little bit underhanded from time to time, but he does what he needs to do. But I'm really pulling for Craven here. I want Craven to start 2019 on the right foot. So I'm looking for Craven to pick up a win here. Now, you did touch on something there, the EPW Invitational. So let's skip ahead to that. The child star Taylor King is returning from an injury that took him out, and he's been in a bit of a weird place lately.
A weird place is putting it mildly, and you never know what you can get out of the child star. Like with his ego, and I say that complimentary. I don't want him to get annoyed at me. But with his ego, he's always susceptible to some odd behaviour. But yeah, as you can imagine, the EPW Invitational Tournament, the longest running tournament in Australian wrestling. No matter what your ego and what you believe of yourself, to have to delay that opportunity, the biggest match of your career, it can send, even the most confident person down a dark spiral. So we did see Taylor King re-emerge as such in the latest video through social media. So Jack Edwards was able to get a hold of him as he was hiding out in Studio City. So I'm glad that he's confirmed that he's coming, but I still don't know what Taylor King it is that we're going to get at EPW Hot Summers Night.
That's the big question, right? Like it's been a joy to experience the journey on social media that he's going through. I feel bad saying that because obviously he's going through some stuff. It's a dark time for the child star, but we've seen just in pop culture, we've seen child stars go through some dark times and emerge. Bigger, better stars. People like your Miley Cyruses, who I know Taylor King is a big fan of. And then you've got other stories too, like the Lindsay Lohans. Which one is Taylor King going to be?
Well, I think if you ask Taylor King, he's going to go down the Miley Cyrus route. And I think for Taylor King, he's always looking, even though he's gone dark, so to speak, over the last few months, but I think he's always looking to reinvent himself. So I'm just curious as to what that means for Taylor King, whether he does come out as a new version of Taylor King or whether or not it's just an edgier version. We'll just, that's really what I'm most looking forward to for Hot Summers Night.
Yeah, me too. This one, I've got a lot of anticipation about this one. We can't ignore the other side of the equation. Gorgeous Gary Schmidt. He's promising the best entrance in EPW history, and I mean, Taylor King kind of has claim to that already with the whole Wrecking Ball thing that happened. So, what about the Gorgeous Gary of it all?
Well, Gorgeous Gary, he returned to EPW after a few year hiatus last year. And the first thing he did was interrupt Taylor King. So they engaged in a rivalry last year. And you're right, you made reference to Taylor King's Wrecking Ball at Evolution last year. And that was the big match between he and Gorgeous Gary. And I think that kind of rattled Gorgeous Gary. He's a flamboyant man, Gary, but he wouldn't admit that. But I think it sort of threw him, and with the task force interference caused him to lose the match. So I think he's trying to get out on the front foot. But you look at some of the videos that Gorgeous Gary puts online, the man is a creative genius. So if he said that this is going to be the best entrance ever, I'm a little bit worried. I'm not sure we're going to be safe at the announce table for whatever shenanigans he's got planned.
I feel like we're going to enter into a battle of just constantly upping the ante, and I'm actually afraid of how high the bar can go on this.
Well, I think with both these guys, the only limit to them is their imagination. And you know what? If we keep upping the ante, that's all good, because I don't think we'll ever cross the line. Touch wood. Hopefully that's not quoted in a year's time when we do something silly and in a bar fight, maybe with no ring. But anyway.
Yeah. When you cross the line, I will definitely throw that back in your face. I'll pull that quote out. I'll put it on all the social medias. No, of course not. Moving on though, tag team action. We have the Headhunters, Dan Steele and Twitch, taking on Dan Moore and Jonathan Wimbledon.
Yeah, and look, for the Headhunters, as someone who's part of the announce team and I guess part of the promotional team of EPW, we're not really their favourites, because the Headhunters believe that they're getting overlooked by not only, us announcers, interviewers, but the actual EPW machine in general. They're upset that they're not on the posters, especially led by Dan Steele. So, I mean, you can't take away from them what has been an impressive 2018 leading into this match. They were undefeated during that time. They even got a big win over the now EPW Tag Team Champions, the Street Gang Hooligans. So, I mean, they've definitely got the credentials. They've definitely got that chip on your shoulder. And I think Chris Jericho once said, you've got to be a bit of paraphrase, but an a-hole to make it in this business. So to see that these guys have got that chip, they're determined, they want to really send a message through Dan Moore, I'm excited to see what happens, contrary to their belief of what I think.
Right. And Dan Moore and Jonathan Wimbledon. I'm not too sure. Is this their first time teaming?
I'm not sure if it's their first time teaming in the ring, but I mean, you look at both those men, they've been so important to EPW's history. They're veterans, of the entire company, respected by all of their peers as well. So that's basically where Jonathan Wimbledon has come in. Dan Moore was outnumbered at Reawakening, and that's why there was the double count out, because he just had to deal with Twitch. So Jonathan Wimbledon, there's no better tag team partner. You know, when your chips are down, you need to bring someone in. We saw that with Gorgeous Gary getting a win with Jonathan Wimbledon at Reawakening against the Task Force as well. So, I mean, whilst it may not be their first time teaming, whilst it may be their first time teaming together in the ring, they definitely know each other well. They're definitely respected, and they're definitely not two people that can be overlooked by the headhunters.
Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be. I feel like this one's going to be a sleeper hit of the night. Like, these guys are going to go out there looking to destroy. So it's, I'm looking forward to this one. Moving on, though, talking about tag teams. One half of the tag team champions, one of the premier flyers in the country, I would say, Logan Gray, taking on Kyle Steria.
Well, both these men, look, the rules of gravity don't apply to these men. With Kyle Steria, you look at a guy, sometimes like you just don't realize how big he is because of the way he moves in the ring. So he's got that really awkward combination to take on, being that size, that strength, and then the agility. But then you've got Logan Gray, who I don't know, if you look at a protractor, he creates angles that don't exist the way he flips his body. So for these two to go one-on-one, they're both former EPW champions. This could, and I know sometimes this gets thrown around loosely, but this could main event most cards around the country. Like, these are two guys who just leave it all out in the ring. And you talked about the last match being a sleeper, and I think absolutely, but I think this is the one that could really steal the show.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm very high on the Street Gang Hooligans, but in terms of singles matches here, Kyle Steria perhaps competes more often as a singles than Logan has, at least in recent memory. So could that give Kyle the edge?
I take the point there, but I mean, you look at the Hooligans, they've been teaming, their focus has been on tag team wrestling for the last 12 months. Yeah. But I think also Kyle's been trying to find his way in the tag team division as well, since hooking up with David Nero. So he's been focused on the tag team scene. He's had a few one-on-one matches. Don't forget as well, Logan Gray had a one-on-one match against Marcus Pitt as well a few shows ago at the Dean. So it's not like he's been completely out of singles competition. And the other thing as well, Logan Gray was EPW champion no less than about 24 months ago. So, I mean, again, tag team wrestling different to singles wrestling, but when you're that good, I don't think you lose it in that shorter period of time.
Right, absolutely.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
January is here, and we are fast approaching WrestleMania season. Royal Rumble and the road to WrestleMania are around the corner, so the time to dilly-dally is past us. If you want to experience WrestleMania live, and who doesn't, let's be honest, you deserve it. The best and really the only way to do it is with All Aussie Travelers. All Aussie Travelers are new to the wrestling travel package game, but they are veterans at travel, and they have put together a package that cannot be beaten. For less than $7,500, All Aussie Travelers are going to send you to New York, New York, with return flights, airport transfers, full accommodation, and tickets to the WWE Hall of Fame, NXT pre-show party, NXT TakeOver, WrestleMania, Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live, and more. The coolest part about these packages is that for NXT TakeOver, Raw, and SmackDown, you are going to be seated in your own private VIP suite, normally not available to the public, but All Aussie Travelers have you covered, man. They got this locked down. It has its own bar, it has its own bathroom access, and all the luxuries that a VIP box comes with, not least of which, of course, an incredible view for everything happening in the ring. All of this for under $7,500. They're practically giving these packages away, man. You'd be crazy not to check it out. So head over to All Aussie Travelers on Facebook. The link is in the show notes. And tell them that the B Plus sent you. And let's go watch WrestleMania in style. But speaking of you mentioned Marcus Pitt there. One half of the Untouchables, who are taking on the Big Rig Scotty Ryan and Julian Ward. Of course, they will have Amber at ringside there. What can you tell us about this matchup?
Well, for me, the word that comes to this match is redemption, because you look at Reawakening and at the end of the night, these four men in this match all walked away with a loss. The Untouchables, obviously, they had that huge, epic ladder match there against the Street Gang Hooligans where they lost their EPW Tag Team Championship. Definitely nothing that they can be ashamed of, but obviously you got two proud men like that, two great athletes. They obviously will be disappointed that they didn't walk away with their championships with them. And then you've got Julian Ward, who took on Jonah Rock. Now, Jonah Rock is finishing up in Australia over the next week, and he's on to bigger and better things. And the way that Julian Ward took it up to him, again, that toughness, that fire that he showed, but he still walked away with a loss.
Yeah.
And then finally, you've got the big rig Scotty Ryan, who's the longest reigning EPW Coastal champion, but he took that step up, trying to vanquish his familiar foe in Gavin McGavin and win the EPW championship, become that double champion. And again, he actually had to tap out in the middle of the ring. So for me, this match, we talked about the Headhunters before with a point to prove. These four men have a point to prove. You know, they don't want the most recent memories of them to be a loss. And so they're going to leave it all out there on the line to try and get a victory and kickstart their 2019.
Yeah, absolutely. So all four men walked out of 2018 with a big loss to close out the year and looking to start things off right this year. They're going in hungry. It's going to be a clash.
Yeah, absolutely. And just with like the Untouchables, I will say that they're not used to losing the big matches. I mean, they came away with a huge victory against Mustache Mountain last year. They obviously won the tag team championships and went on a tear. So, again, they're not going to respond too well to that dent to their ego and their pride. So I expect them to come out really wanting to make an example of the two young boys. But, you know, you can't put anything against Scotty Ryan and Julian Ward. They are definitely future stars if they're not stars already.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is a loss here against the Untouchables would not, in my opinion at least, as a fan watching this, that wouldn't do any damage to Scotty Ryan or Julian Ward. I mean, obviously they're going to be looking to get the win here, but being competitive against one of the greatest teams in the country, that's a win in and of itself.
Yeah, and like, to paraphrase something that happens on one of the football talk shows, most at stake for mine is Julian Ward, because Julian Ward, yeah, okay, the big rig lost in the EPW Championship match at Reawakening, but Julian Ward has sort of found a bit of a habit of just falling short in those big matches. We saw Jonah Rock, we saw the EPW Gauntlet match to determine the number one contender, and also the last man standing match against Gavin McGavin at last year's Evolution. So for me, if Julian Ward starts this year with another loss in a high-profile match, that to me is concerning because he's got all the talent in the world, but until you get that breakthrough victory, what did Jim Ross used to say, potential doesn't pay the bills.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm excited for this one. Now, let's talk about something a little more personal. The Don, Michael Morleone. And I believe he wants us to call him the Free Spirit, Hayden Zenith.
Well, yes, I believe he doesn't respond to the name Hayden anymore. He is a free spirit and he is just Zenith.
Right.
Looking at his social media ever since he turned on the Don in the steel cage match, it's just like something has switched. He wasn't getting that respect, so he's trying to find that inner peace, whatever that looks like. I don't know. I can't even do a yoga class, let alone find this inner spirit that Zenith has found. And just looking at some of the stuff, he's very active on Instagram doing Q&As and things like that. And he keeps on referring to the Don as Michael. This is Michael's fault. It's Michael's ego. So for mine, he's got that something to prove, which seems to be the running thread of Hot Summers Night. When you've got 2019, a new year, you want to start on the right foot. For him, it's a case of proving to not only himself, but the Don, that he was always that better than everyone gave him the credit for, because he seemed like he felt he was overlooked in Generation Zero. He wasn't respected for how he was contributing. And I guess that's what caused him to snap to this new evolution or new form. I don't know if he's a Pokemon or not, but he's just gone to this other level of, I guess he would call it consciousness. But for mine, he's got a lot of hard work uphill at Hot Summers Night, because Michael Morleone, the Don, we saw him in the Street Fighter, the no DQ match against Jimmy Havoc. So when there's no rules, he can get as rough and tumble as they get. A lot tougher than that cliche, because I'm not sure rough and tumble is really appropriate for choke bombing someone through fluorescent light tubes. But when there's no rules and you cost the biggest prize in our game in Australian wrestling being the EPW Championship by your so-called brother, your so-called family, I really think that Zenith has got a lot to worry about, because the Don is not going to go easy on him.
Yeah, and you touched on it there though as well. With I mean, obviously this is quite personal for Michael Morleone because for the Don, I'll call him the Don. I don't want to upset him. This is quite personal for the Don, and it's a matter of his brother betrayed him, right? But it's for Zenith, like you said, he's coming in with something to prove, so he might be looking this through a more business lens, and that tends to lend itself to success.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the notion that you can get caught up in the emotion of wanting to get revenge, because, EPW Championship, if you're cost that by Johnny whoever, that's annoying, that's frustrating, that's, makes you angry. But to actually get cost by your so-called family member, that's the next level. And you're right, even though there's no rules, nothing can contain him, the emotion might get the best of Morleone, and it might cause him to make a mistake where Zenith can capitalize. So it's a very good point, but I think the experience in those no rules matches, not only against Jimmy Havoc, but also winning the championship, reawakening against David Storm, 2017, also lends him to have that experience to do what he needs to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Talked about the championship a lot. Main event. EPW champion. Now, I have to warn you going in. I don't know if you've listened to the show before, but I happen to have a bit of a reputation as a Gavin McGavin mark. So I'm just going to put that out there on Front Street. The EPW champion, the Grand Slam champion, the real wrestler, the man single-handedly restoring real wrestling to Australia, traveling every state and territory, putting it on the map, defending that EPW championship everywhere he goes. Gavin McGavin, facing a challenger who is no stranger to, making a name of Australian wrestling. Now, you're going to notice us. Now we conquer. The rapscallion Mick Moretti coming to EPW to challenge for that EPW championship. People are in for a treat with this match.
Well, first and foremost, if I didn't listen to the show, I would think you were Gavin McGavin the way you just introed him. Pretty sure you're 1B in the Gavin McGavin fan club. 1A is Gavin himself.
Yes.
But with respect to Gavin McGavin, a lot of people don't like his attitude. A lot of people don't like the fact that he is braggadocious, rubs it in your face when he succeeds. But you can't argue with the resume. You can't argue with the performances over not just the last year, but the last couple of years. I mean, the EPW Wrestler of the Year in 2017. Trust me, we saw a lot of that plaque around here. But he's shown so many more strings to his bow in 2018. Not only is he a great technical wrestler, again, these are just facts you can't take away from him. He's a great technical wrestler, but he showed his toughness, his smarts in the last man standing match against Julian Ward we touched on.
Yep.
Even in the steel cage match. I mean, yes, I've got to be careful how I phrase this, because Gavin gets very angry when I make mention of the fact that, Zenith was heavily involved in the outcome of that match. But even before that match, the way he was targeting the Don, just simple things like, targeting the hands and the grip of the Don, whose pattern and finisher is the choke bomb. This guy is as dangerous as he is intelligent. And for Mick Moretti, who absolutely has been at the forefront of getting Australian wrestling notice, I think he's just maybe, just in some of those videos you've seen, seems to be taking Gavin McGavin a little lightly. I don't know if that's part of the facade for Mick Moretti, but if you take Gavin McGavin lightly, you're going to walk away very embarrassed.
Yeah, see, that's the thing with Mick Moretti is I don't know that he ever really takes his opponents lightly or himself lightly. He just seems to be doing that, right? It's all a part of the mind games that the rapscallion is able to play on people. Even his own partner in the Four Nations, he seems to just be able to master those mind games that really get people playing his game. And I think that's a worry for Gavin McGavin. As a Gavin McGavin fan myself, that's a worry, because if Gavin McGavin strays from his game and tries to play the rapscallion's game, I don't know if you can win.
No, you're absolutely right. And with Mick Moretti, I get a very, and not even just from a wrestling sense, but I get a very Andy Kaufman vibe that even the closest circle to him doesn't quite know, okay, what's happening here? Is this really Moretti, or is this part of the showmanship? Is this part of the act? I mean, once he gets in that squared circle, we saw him really serve it up to the guys on the New Japan tour. We've seen him in World Series Wrestling, take it up to some of the world's very best as well. He can go, but it's just this outside of the ring. What's mind games? What's actually really tweaked with inside Moretti? Who knows? Maybe he's just a straight-laced accountant who likes playing tricks on everyone. But that's part of the unpredictability about Moretti that, Australian wrestling fans have come to love, really.
Yeah, look, I've been following Mick Moretti since he was the Green Dragon, and I'm convinced that in his transformation becoming the Rapscallion, he's been possessed by some kind of trickster spirit. There is something otherworldly about the presence around this man.
Yeah, absolutely. And whenever you're dealing with someone who is embracing that outer-worldly sort of spirits, for want of a better term, again, you just don't know what you're going to get. But if he is at all getting too caught up in the mind games and not focusing on what's going to happen in that square circle, then I think your man Gavin McGavin is going to give him a bit of a lesson, despite the expertise that Moretti brings.
Yeah, can take advantage of that too, because that's the other side of the mind games, is you can get caught up in them yourself. And for someone who is as great in the ring as Gavin McGavin is, like, you can't take it away from him. Bell to bell, he knows what he's doing in there. And so, it's one of those things where it could even play against, like, the Rapscallion's biggest strength could turn into his biggest weakness in this match. That's what I'm hoping happens. I want Gavin McGavin walking out with that EPW title, longest reigning. I want it to go all across the country, all across the globe. I'm really enjoying the Gavin versus Australia tour, in case you can't tell. So.
I couldn't tell, and I'm not 100% convinced, seeing though we're doing this by audio link up, that you haven't just got a voice changing going on there, Gavin. So, or either that, or you're running his social media team. I don't know, but it's sounding very similar.
I will say this: I am not under duress. There is no one forcing me to say this. I just am genuinely entertained by the guy. So there it is, and I'm genuinely entertained by everything EPW does. These guys have had a fantastic year last year, and I'm really looking forward to 2019. Thank you so much for jumping on the call with me to break down, what's happening this weekend over there. Can you tell people where they can find you, where they can, get tickets and all that fun stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having us on. It's great to talk about EPW Hot Summers Night and EPW in general. It's a great time for Australian wrestling, no matter where you are across the country. Get out there, support your local wrestling. There's some great shows going on this weekend. So definitely get out there and check it all out. But if you are coming to EPW Hot Summers Night, and I thoroughly recommend that you do, showtickets.com.au. Showtickets, all one word, .com.au. That's the place to go for your tickets. Get in early, because Reawakening did sell out. So we want to make sure that if you want to come down and watch all the action, you don't miss out. Get in early, reserve your ticket. Don't leave it to chance. Before the event, we'll have Mick Moretti doing a meet and greet as well. So even better for those fans here who don't see him as much. And, if he doesn't walk away with the championship, it may be a while before we see him. But if he does walk away with the championship, it might be good to get in on the ground floor of that. So showtickets.com.au is the place to go, or just follow any of our social media sites on Facebook, Instagram, and also Twitter.
Right, and I am at Greg Unchained on Twitter, at the Greg Unchained on Instagram. We collectively here are the B Plus Wrestle on Twitter, because wrestling wouldn't fit. The B Plus Wrestling everywhere else except Patreon, where you can get around us and get in on this mission of watch global, support local. Every cent that comes in goes into building the platform so we can grow this Aussie wrestling thing together and build indie wrestling. Thank you so much for stopping by. Like, share, subscribe, 5-star review if you like what we do. And thank you so much for listening.
Hold one. Arm drag.
You're not doing this. Get out. Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon.
You just made the list. Oh my God.
So, no speak English.
Dummy. Goodbye and good night. Hold two. Arm bar.
This is the worst town I've ever been in.
It's still real to me, damn it. Dummy. Hold three. covered.